Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Checking, checking. Checking, checking. Still sending data, huh? Oh, now we're streaming. That's a good sign. That's a very good sign. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, as y'all know, we're going live every single day of 2026. So make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, become a member. Throw in a super chat if you want. And, all right, hold up. Look at this. We've got Trump, Iran, OPEC, Elon lawsuits, FBI raids, King Charles pulling up to the White House like it is Coachella, and tell me this doesn't feel like the fastest timeline ever. Chat, what are we even watching right now? Is this real life, or did someone hit shuffle on the entire news cycle? So I need you right now. Drop in the chat what story feels the craziest to you, because tonight we're not just reacting, we're connecting the dots. Here's the game. We've got Middle East tension heating up, OPEC shakeups, OPEC. And we have political pressure, campaigns, celebrity chaos, financial bombs dropping, and all of it is trending at the same time. That's not a random situation, right? That's a pattern. And tonight we are breaking it down live. All right, so quick rule for the stream: if you see something I miss, drop it in the chat. I'll pull it up. We react together. That's how we build the smartest live community on the internet. And real talk, if you want your comment guaranteed on screen, super chats, jump the line, members get priority reads. Become a member. There's many tiers. It's less than a cup of coffee. We got the inner circle. We go deeper after the stream. We're live every single day of 2026. This is not random. This is a mission. So if you're rocking with the vision, like the stream, subscribe, turn notifications on. And if you're serious, become a member. All right, let's start with this one, because this might be something that pulls everything together. Talk to us, POTUS. King Charles III at the White House. Good morning, Tara. We got Tohu Vavohu saying the Comey indictment is going to be dismissed before it gets to trial. Is that something written in the sand, buddy? We got Lone Wolf and Cub jumping in on the chat saying the far right is the craziest stuff I have ever seen. I thought they were going to be cool, but they vote for Democrats, use Democrat talking points. Yeah, buddy. We got some great fashion going on over here. Melania looking great in the white and sand-colored hat.
Now it is our tremendous privilege to host you.
The boys. There you go. Is he wearing a matching suit? Maybe it's just the shadow. This looks like a matching suit. This actually doesn't look like a matching suit. I don't know if anyone brought this up. The pants look different from the coat.
And you're going to have a wonderful short stay, but stay nevertheless. Then you're going over to Congress, and you're going to make a speech that's going to make everybody very envious of that beautiful accent of yours.
That's right.
Very elegant. He's a very elegant man. His Majesty's intellect, passion, and devotion have been really a blessing to the British people.
POTUS, we got a fan. Hazel Pete says, thank you, Mr. President, for all you do. You are loved, Mr. President. You are loved. Okay, I sit corrected. This does look like a suit over here. Amazing.
But not only to his own country, but to the cherished bond between the United States and the United Kingdom. And I am very certain that it will continue that way long into the future.
That's right.
President Trump with an update this morning after Iran proposed a deal to open the Strait of Hormuz if the United States holds off on nuclear negotiations. Talk about a sweetheart deal. Well, the president's not pleased with the offer and believes Iran isn't negotiating in good faith. Last hour, he posted, Iran has just informed us that they are in a state of collapse. They want us to open the Hormuz Strait as soon as possible as they try to figure out their leadership situation, which I believe they will be able to do.
All right. So Trump's giving them some support, hoping they figure out their leadership situation. Classy Trump, right? Classy.
Exclamation point. Here's Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
I hope that in the aftermath of this conflict, the whole world's eyes have been opened to the threat Iran poses. Again, they want to do with the world with a nuclear weapon what they are doing now with oil. They want to hold the world hostage so they can do whatever they want. That's unacceptable.
Unacceptable. And we have new information from a maritime tracking firm that we watch and show you. And you can see dramatically how the U.S. blockade is squeezing Iran's oil industry and therefore the money coming in. Iran could reportedly run out of storage capacity within 12 to 22 days. Daily shipments have fallen to about 567,000 barrels, a massive decline from 1.85 million last month. Production could be cut by 1.5 million barrels a day by mid-May. And that's not just big money on those days. Long range, that means that the wells get shut in because they won't be pumping as much to take the oil out of the ground and put it on ships and keep everything moving. It is an economic disaster for them. Brian Yennis, national correspondent. Brian.
Tell us.
And Harris, the Kepler analysis predicts that it'll take about 3 to 4 more months for Iran to really see an impact on its oil revenues from this U.S. blockade of Iranian ports. But the president says that this blockade has been, quote, unbelievably effective. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent writing on X, quote,
Fox News for the W.
Oil industry is starting to shut in production thanks to the U.S. blockade. Pumping will soon collapse. Gasoline shortages in Iran next. The question now is whether the president is willing to continue the blockade until Iran's economy collapses, perhaps forcing them into a deal, or whether the president will resume military strikes. Iran International reports Iran's Supreme National Security Council held a meeting concerned about its economy. Quote, officials believe mounting economic hardship driven by rising prices, unemployment, and damage to key industries such as petrochemicals and steel could become the main trigger for renewed protests. Secretary of State Marco
Waffle Jackson, how you doing, buddy? How you doing?
Rubio told Fox that Iran's deeply fractured leadership is a roadblock for a peace deal and that any deal with the U.S. must prevent Iran from getting a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, I think they're serious about figuring out how can they buy themselves more time. We can't let them get away with it. They're very good negotiators. Absolutely.
Amazing negotiators. That's accurate. That's one thing we can say about Iran. They are great negotiators. And I'm doing just great, Waffle Jackson. Thank you, buddy. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every single day of 2026. And throw in a super chat if you want. And if you love this community as much as I do, become a member. Members get seen first.
They're very experienced negotiators, and we have to ensure that any deal that is made, any agreement that is made, is one that definitively prevents them from sprinting towards a nuclear weapon at any point.
Meanwhile, Israel is continuing airstrikes in southern Lebanon against Hezbollah. The IDF says it struck more than 50 Hezbollah-linked sites targeting weapons, manufacturing, and storage facilities, including an underground complex. Harris, the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah, continues firing rockets and drones into Israel, threatening a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, which could have an impact on the U.S.-Iran negotiations. Harris?
Brian Yennis, excellent.
We got Brian Doe, 5746, saying, so he lied about the deal. He lied about talking to them. He lied about how quickly it would happen. He lied about no insider trading, but sure, let's believe this one. Who is he? Who are you talking about? And no insider trading. Give me the news. What happened, my buddy? What happened?
Excellent reporting as always. That was such great information, and we will watch it all and report. Thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for.
Yeah, like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every single day of 2026. UAE says it will leave OPEC effective May 1st. What type of situation is going to happen then? That's my question. Like, could get pretty gnarly, right? Could get pretty gnarly. Let's check it out. Let's check it out.
Conflict with Iran, where there is breaking news at this hour. First, the president said to be unhappy with the regime's latest ceasefire proposal.
Max Ninja dropping in on the chat saying Marco is tapping. Something, something, something. Can't really read the rest, but do you have pictures? Can you prove it?
Proposal, namely because it does not address Iran's nuclear program. Meanwhile, to the breaking news on OPEC, Lucas Tomlinson's watching that. He's back live today in Dubai from overseas. And Lucas, hello there.
Good morning, Bill. Some big news out of the Emirates. Say the UAE announcing they will be leaving OPEC on May 1st. That's the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Iran was one of 5 founding members back in 1960. The UAE, the 7th largest oil exporter in the world. It appears that Iran, a big reason for the UAE to be leaving. Now, as far as negotiations with Iran going, we've heard from President Trump that he's unhappy with the negotiations going on right now. Recall just over the weekend, the president canceled the trip by his special envoys, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, going to Pakistan to re-engage with the Iranians. And just a reminder for our viewers, Bill, about what President Trump's red lines are in these negotiations. End all uranium enrichment, dismantle the enrichment facilities, hand over that highly enriched uranium, end funding for terrorist proxies, fully open the strait, no more charging tolls, shut down the toll booth. Now, in an exclusive interview with our own Trey Ying, Secretary of State Marco Rubio explained why Iran has closed the strait.
They don't just seek to dominate Iran, they seek to dominate the region. And imagine that with a nuclear weapon. Look what they've done with the Straits. Great example. The Straits is basically the equivalent of an economic nuclear weapon that they're trying to use against the world. And they're bragging about it.
There you go.
While hundreds of ships remain at anchor stuck in the Persian Gulf, behind me, the first LNG carrier, liquefied natural gas, recently transited the Strait of Hormuz since the war.
Thank you, can't forget. Appreciate it, buddy.
Began 2 months ago. She left from a port here in the Emirates. Now, not only is the Gulf important to the world's energy industry, as we know and is documented, it's arguably more critical to the global fertilizer industry. 30% of the world's fertilizer trade passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Its closure has affected farmers across the world, including in the United States.
We got a fish, dude. How you doing, buddy?
And as the blockade is now more than 2 weeks old, Iran's storage tanks are nearing capacity, Bill. And analysts say it could be 1 to 3 weeks before Iran is forced to shut down oil production and perhaps cause permanent damage to its oil-producing industry. Certainly something the White House is watching closely, and hope is why it brings Iran back to the negotiating table.
Okay, and we are too. Good to have you back in the region, Lucas Tomlinson in Dubai.
Dubai
Today. Thank you, Lucas.
Yeah. How much of an effect is that going to have, honestly? Brian Doe says he told us years ago that any president that starts a war with Iran is trying to distract from something. He also said no new wars. Yeah, I can't argue with that. He did say no new wars, right? And then he also said no nation building, and he never... Okay, I'm not going to read that part. But is that... That's a weird part. I think that's the first thing I heard about that 13 thing. I did not know about that. I hope that's not true, because that's horrible. My, oh my. I hope we find some peace. That would be awesome. If we can find some peace... Mr. says, so, what do we think? The next phase of the war will be peace. Let's find peace, people. Let us find peace. And we're going live every day of 2026. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. On the bottom left, there's a 0 out of 5. You can click that button, throw in a super chat. I'll read it too, and I'll bring out Veronica, because everyone loves Veronica whenever we get a super chat. There's a hot mic with Trump, and Trump panics as the truth is caught. Is this clickbait? What is this?
There are so many more questions to ask about the events of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, but even more importantly, there is so much that Donald Trump does not want you to hear, including some leaked audio that was caught on a hot mic that exposes the entirety of the truth of the night. The truth that the mainstream media doesn't want to pay attention to, doesn't want to talk about, and will wag their finger down at you and say you're a conspiracy theorist if you raise. Because of course, it's outlandish of us to question that the event honoring reporting on the cover-up of the Epstein files might have been a little fishy. That an administration that protects pedos might be willing to do anything to protect itself, including staging an event. We're going to get into that in the hot mic audio, but it does all begin where I want to start, with what Republicans are already thrusting upon us, saying that what happened on Saturday is set in stone, we can't question it, now we have to take what they're giving us. I'm not going to, which is why I want to start by calling out Lindsey Graham's bullshit right here.
If you don't think $400 million of taxpayer money is a good investment to create a secure facility at the White House where the President of the United States, the Vice President, the Cabinet, and people from the public can come and, have a meal and gather without what happened Saturday, then I disagree. This is the number one job of the federal government is national security. The number one job of national security, I think, would be to protect the commander-in-chief and to have infrastructure under the ballroom that is very national security centric. So I don't think, just vote no. That's all I ask you to do is vote. I don't care how you vote. I want to vote. I want to see where is America on this. I'll bet you 90% of the people would love to have a better facility than the Hilton Hotel to make sure this crap never happens again. I can't tell you what to say on the Senate floor, but I've never seen it like this. There are people out there just one click away from picking up a gun or something else. And
Focus on the good moments, said. I scrolled back because I heard something about peace listening. Yeah, that's the idea. Chat, how can we find peace in this situation? We need to find peace. So from what I understand, there's only like 3 reasons we're in this situation. More land, more oil, or a distraction. Or I could be completely wrong from what I understand from like what the chat's input is and the news that we gather. But honestly, how can we find peace? That's the most important thing. That's the reason I want to figure out how we can inspire that. Thank you for being here. Focus on the good moments. And just so y'all know, we're going live every single day of 2026. So subscribe, throw in some super chats, become a member. Thank you.
And trying to make America better by killing. You don't make America great by killing people you don't like. That's
True.
not how you make America great.
The most important word that Lindsey said, because he said a lot of bullshit and he said a lot of words, was taxpayer. Taxpayer money now. That $400 million, if I remember correctly, was $200 million. And then it became $400 million. But it was always private money. It was gracious donations by the billionaires who got giant tax cuts from Donald Trump. Corporations paying 0 in taxes like
Morty Smith 8049 jumping in on the chat saying you don't deserve peace. Please explain yourself. What do you mean by that? And Hannibal says we have a divisive president. Do we actually? Do you have any data to back that up? Not saying you're wrong, but just trying to figure that out.
Like Palantir, Amazon, they were gracious. They gave us a little crumb, little $1 million for the ballroom. And now it's taxpayer money? Notice that Republicans in their plan to make sure that the ballroom happens aren't focused on the approval as much as they are the cash. So Donald Trump gets an assassination attempt, and I'm putting that in quotes very purposefully, and $400 million in dark money that we know nothing about, including we don't know a donor list, and just gets to walk away. yeah, that seems like a little bit more than just suspicious, especially with this audio that we're going to get into, and especially with Todd Blanche saying this before we do.
Hear the audio,
when you have a president who, and many people in this room, if we're going to be honest about it, have done it as well. They're just as guilty as a lot of people on X. When you have reporters, when you have media just being overly critical and calling the president horrible names for no reason and without evidence, without proof, it shouldn't surprise us that this type of rhetoric takes place. If you look at what it appears that this defendant had in his past, we're talking about somebody who is college educated, who has a job, who is otherwise living his life, and we'll find out more about him, as I expect, in the coming days and weeks. But he chose to do what he did, and so our threat environment is we are ready. I mean, I'm not going to go through what Director Patel just talked about with the way we responded, but this was something that we will always be prepared for, and it's sad that it has to happen, but it's not a new thing, unfortunately.
Oh, interesting. So now we're not even allowed to say mean things about the president. We couldn't do that. That's the real problem here. It's nothing else. What we have to take away from the events of Saturday night was that you
do have freedom of speech, which is good. But for James Comey to write that in the sand, you know.
Not allowed to say mean things about the president. That is what they want to say. That is what they want to be the narrative. That it should be illegal to call Donald Trump a pedo, by the way, to call him a pedo. The adjudicated rapist, you're not allowed to say those words about Donald Trump. And if you do, you're essentially threatening his life and should be treated like a criminal. That's what they're saying. But the truth of the night is that more reporting needs to be done on Donald Trump's crimes. The truth of the night is that Donald Trump was go as far as he possibly could, including staging a shooting to protect himself. And the truth of the night...
For him to say he staged a shooting, is that proven? Or is that just allegedly? That's a pretty heavy statement right there, buddy.
It is, well, it's this right here. The Tennessee Holler reported sharing a clip from Fox 5 in Washington, D.C. This hot mic audio might as well put a doorstep in. Local reporters heard remarks.
Luke Darling 3359 says, bring up what Rosie said. What did Rosie say? Send me a message on Discord, buddy, or I would like to see what's going on there.
Marking how lax security was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner red carpet.
I love that they have like two random chicks holding the front door open. We're not even trying anymore. It's not even like, I just mean like they're not even like Secret Service people. It's like the girls who work here are holding the door. Even if it was the guys, it wouldn't even make it better. It's like she's fucking just like they might as well put a doorstop in. Like, they put up a doorstop and a scarecrow. Don't fuck with this guy.
Huh.
We got a message by Josh Hanley 1627 saying open carry is already illegal in DC. Are you telling me nobody, also known as police outside, noticed a guy walking around open carrying a show? Tigu and my goodness.
People at the event were questioning, even before anything took place, how the security could be so lax. And we have new reporting from the Washington Post that the White House allowed this to be a lower level security event. Some of y'all may have seen my video coverage that I did on Saturday night that I was in a tux. Some people asked me if I had gone to the dinner. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was not at the dinner. That's not why I was wearing a tux. I was actually attending a party with Substack and MSNBC. Certainly not the White House Correspondents' Dinner. But I also was around that area because, and hopefully I'm not doxing myself here, but I live close enough.
Some people were asking, like, what are my political views? I would say I'm a extremely moderate, liberal, Democrat, Republican, centrist, nonpartisan, independent, pragmatist, politically pluralist, unaffiliated voter.
That I went to a local bar And I didn't see the level of security that you might at a traditional.
But I love everybody. I love people from the left, the right, the center, just trying to find truth.
Event of that magnitude. I also attended earlier this year Donald Trump's State of the Union address, of course, not in the building, but talking to members of Congress before and after. And that event was on lockdown, right? They locked that shit down. It was the same people at that dinner, and they didn't. So this is interesting audio. I think this is more important audio. Everybody knew it. Everybody knew that the security just, this really was.
Hannibal says staged like Butler. Don't hate Strumbo says Butler was staged as well. And Baladine says evidence is a joke today. All right. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, throw in a super chat, become a member. I love you. We're developing the best community on the internet.
Wasn't there. Everybody knew that it was a little fishy. Everybody was talking about it. Carolyn Levitt's husband, actually, I'm just going to play the audio. This is just as important as anything else.
I want to just quickly tell you, I was sitting next to Caroline Levitt, the press secretary's husband. He was one of our guests. He was seated right next to me. And, right as the dinner was starting, the national anthem happened. And then he kind of leaned over and said, I watched you on TV. You do a great job. You need to be very safe. And
you need to be very safe. That's absolutely accurate. Yeah. I agree with Tara Matthews. Tara Matthews says, I want to see the actual proof of Trump being a P3D. I want the proof, not just the words. It's easy to call someone a P3D.
And he was just very serious when he said that to me. And he kind of looked around the room and he said, there are some...
There are some what?
Sounds like we lost Aisha's phone there. And this happens, by the way, especially when you have so many people attempting to utilize the same cell service at the same time.
That's the reason you need cell bonding. Definitely need that if you're live streaming in questionable areas.
I want to add this.
What is cell phone bonding? It jumps from network to network. So, jumps around all 4 major networks if you definitely need that.
While we had a moment, I was just reading.
Carolyn Levitt's husband, moments before the shooting, was telling a Fox reporter, hey, be careful.
Nia Double G, how you doing? RO, you're from Europe. Welcome to the chat, buddy. And you say, what kind of peace are you referring to? In your country or globally? Globally, ideally. That will be awesome. Globally. If we can find global peace, that would be absolutely terrific.
It's going to get crazy. And as the reporter was telling that story, Fox mysteriously kicks her off air. Maybe that's some more audio that we should look into. But let me say this, because this is the real point. We know what the truth of the night was. The truth of the night is no matter staged or not, and all this conflicting reporting, it seems certainly that the White House, at least
AP3DAB has jumped in the chat saying, Diddy Dems, DEI.
Maybe wanted something to happen. If you're not going to put security in place.
Imagine that. Gamer Guy 82 says, Trump Diddy 2028. Oh my gosh.
It seems like you're asking for something to happen. So if you won't go as far as to say staged, and if you won't go as far to maybe raise that question, certainly you can't deny that the White House was allowing this to happen, that Trump was allowing this to happen. Of course, it was a very secure room in the room. And so maybe the thought was someone...
At this point, at any point in either of his presidencies, but he is at the lowest, he has the worst net approval rating at this point in any term for any president. Look at this.
Carter, minus 22 and 78. Bush, minus 25 points in 2006. Biden, minus 25 points in 2022. And Trump, Trump makes a difference. Wherever he goes, he makes a difference. He makes an impact. Minus 32 points in 2026. At this point in any term.
He's at minus 32 points now. Joe Biden, of course, Donald Trump loved to rip Joe Biden in the economy. Joe Biden, though, was at minus 25 points, 7 points better. How about George W. Bush? Minus 25 points. Again, 7 points better than Donald Trump. And of course, Donald Trump loves to rip on James Earl Carter. But James Earl Carter, Jimmy Carter, was at minus 22 points, 10 points better than Donald Trump.
Have you guys heard Trump ripping on Carter? I haven't heard that.
Is right now. So again, Donald Trump making the type of history that no president likes to make.
I mean, this is historic. No president has been this low at this point in the presidency on the economy, period, full stop?
Full stop. Full stop. Presidency or term.
Okay.
In the toilet. Historically.
Anyway, yeah. Trump. What a man. What a man. So there's like a minority loophole. You guys are saying Trump 2028. The 22nd Amendment only says you can't be elected president again. Some argue you might still be allowed to be VP, vice president. You think Trump's going to run for vice president in 2028? Then become president if the president resigns. Checking loopholes. You know, that's what we do over here. We get creative. Absolutely, always just trying to find everything that is possible, you know. Oh, Catherine, thank you so much for the gift. I appreciate it. You're amazing. Yeah, make sure you guys throw in some super chats, subscribe, like the video. I love you. The Lord loves you. Everybody loves you. And let's see what's happening with FBI raiding the Learning Center. Minnesota fraudsters are on alert. With none other than the legend. Surely it's Nick. Surely.
It is officially National Learning Day. The Learning Center has officially been raided, and play the clip.
Now, large-scale raids targeting federal fraud currently underway. Federal agents seen leaving the Quality Learning Center.
Take a look at this video here. Sources tell Fox that federal agents are raiding about 22 businesses across Minneapolis this morning. And sources say many of them are tied to Somali-owned operations. All of this comes after that viral YouTube video from Nick Shirley. It was back in December. In that video, he visited different child care centers. And you'll remember they were either closed or there were just no children inside, despite receiving state child care funding.
We got Lone Wolf and Cubs saying, what are you talking about? I'm voting for Trump in 2032. Well, bam. Hazel Pete says Obama is a CR imminent.
Now, the location that you're looking at right now, it's the Quality Learning Center. This is the daycare. It went viral. It blew up on social media.
Certified Luditi says, you think the world will last till then? Yeah, absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
Because of a sign outside with learning that was literally misspelled. Looks like we got a statement from DHS sharing, quote, Homeland Security investigations in.
That sign must have been like AI hallucination, like, please write learning. It's like, all right, I'll just leave out one of the ends. Leering.
Cooperation with our law enforcement partners executed criminal search warrants in Minneapolis relating to the rampant fraud of U.S. taxpayers' dollars.
So there you have it. Over 20 businesses were raided by the FBI and HSI today because of fraud that took.
Leering Center. We got Nia Double G Row saying, when the whole of mankind have an exterior threat forces us to work together, then hopefully we can see behind all of our against each other over money and power. Yeah, that's a very valid argument, and a lot of people have made that argument. And what if instead of arguing with each other, we argue with the theory of war and fight against war, as in create peace?
place. They had 22 search warrants for primarily Somali-ran businesses, because it just so happens to be that a lot of the businesses in Minnesota that were fraudulent were ran by Somalians. And now we're going to talk about these locations that were raided, but I do think it is super important that we talk about somebody who's trying to claim credit for the fraud being exposed, and that is Tim Walz. Tim Walz actually said at the height of this fraud that no evidence of fraud was taking place in Minnesota. However, today Tim Walz is saying something completely different, trying to take credit for the fraud being exposed. And this is what
How you doing, Terry? Happy to have you in here, buddy.
Tim Walz had to say on X today. He said, if you commit fraud in Minnesota, you're going to get caught. And that's exactly what we saw today. We catch criminals when state and federal agencies share information, joint investigations work, and securing justice depends on it.
Certified Ludi says, I swear this kid is a plant. I think he's referring to Nick Shirley. What do you mean by that? You think Nick Shirley is a plant? He's doing some dangerous stuff, man. Some very dangerous stuff. And how would that operate? What do you mean by he is a plant? Very curious, very curious.
He then said, today's raids by state and federal law enforcement happened because our state agencies caught irregular behavior and reported it. That is a complete lie. Then he says, that's how the system is supposed to work, and our agencies will keep at it as long as there are fraudsters around to put behind bars. Well, Tim actually might have to get...
Terry, is it true what Wakteras just said? Here's a huge clue and don't miss it. For if you miss it and forget, they'll still get away with it. Majority of the opposite of chillin', people who Russian, cyber criminals from the wanted post are relaxing in the Philippines. Certified Ludit says, I don't know, he's gained so much traction really fast. Yeah, he's gained a lot of traction because what he does is extremely dangerous. He's exposing fraud, and the people who expose fraud are not necessarily upright citizens. You know, there's a that's a wild job. Like journalism, investigative journalism, like what Nick Shirley is doing. There's not enough money to pay for how much effort and how much danger he is in. Like it's wild, so wild. Like if you look at some of the interviews of people that have interviewed Nick Shirley, they're like, bro, I hope the Lord is watching over you and helping you, because what you're doing and things like that, that's like doing 5 backflips on a motorcycle at a competition. Like no one's ever done that before. So he's doing some wild things, and he's also doing it online, you know. He's a cowboy. He is definitely a cowboy.
Get put behind bars because he enabled all this fraud to take place underneath his leadership in Minnesota. And just to talk about some of the stuff that was irregular inside of Minnesota, such as the 1,000% increases for the budget for autism. Meanwhile, there was not 1,000% increase of children with autism, or the increase of money that they're giving to these daycares that actually had no kids inside of the daycares. And with all this going on, I do have some good news. Right now, everything on my website is 25% off. All you have to do is go to the link down below and use code LeeringDay, and you can go ahead and get yourself a Leering hoodie or anything else we have available. We have t-shirts, hoodies available, and just use code LeeringDay for 25% off. And now let's get back into talking about the fraud. And now let's actually talk about who deserves the most credit for exposing this fraud, and that is David. Without David and his years and years of investigating this fraud and then seeking to get that public information about the money that was being spent on these daycares, none of this would have happened. And me and David proved that teamwork really does make the dream work, as our video amassed over 4 billion views in just 1 week after we exposed the rampant fraud that took place inside of Minnesota. And now let's talk about the raids that took place with locations like the Quality Learning Center and a few of the other locations as well. So first off, the Quality Learning Center. The Quality Learning Center received $1.9 million. When I went and exposed it on the first time, it was December 16th, and there was absolutely no cars and no children out midday on a weekday. And then I exposed it, and instead of people going and exposing more of the fraud and investigating the fraud, they actually investigated me for exposing that fraud. You had politicians like Tim Walz saying that there's no evidence of fraud. Ilhan Omar went completely silent when it turns out that Ilhan Omar actually has ties with the building of Quality Living Center.
Oh, you got some ties. There you go. Is that where all that money's coming from? Probably not, right? That's just assumptions. Like, don't make an assumption for sure. But she has ties to them. She's not too much a fan of Nick Shirley for some reason. What do you think, chat?
There's a restaurant attached to that building, and Ilhan Omar is friends with that owner of that restaurant. Meanwhile, the owner of the Quality Living Center is partying with Mayor Fry, and Mayor Fry is actually taking tours of other daycares with the friend of Ilhan Omar at her other daycare.
There you go. There you go. The cowboy himself. Nick Shirley. The real cowboy of the West. There you go, man. Little hero.
I know that was a lot of information there, but that is the truth. There's a lot of ties taking place in corruption going around with these daycare and the fraud that took place. That's how intertwined the web actually is. You have politicians, friends with the fraudsters, and just a whole lot of fraud. And so the Quality Living Center was then exposed. The owner or manager of Quality Living Center said that Nick Shirley is a liar, and they started shuffling children into the daycare. However, at the same time, the commissioner of children was saying that the daycare was closed a week before he actually started shuffling those children into the daycare. And my video had been filmed 2 weeks before all of that, just going furthermore to show how much fraud was taking place. And then on top of that, you had other locations in the original videos that were exposed and also rated today. Let's take one for example. We have the Mako and Mini childcare.
Oh, wait a minute. We got Mike Paul Antonio saying Nick is a fraudster just like his parents, who are convicted fraudsters. Yeah, Mike, let me get some proof. Agreeing with Tara. Tara's like, where's the proof? Let's hear about it. Let's hear about it. Would love to know about it. Do we got any proof in the chat? At me if we have proof. Just do that at me, y'all.
This location received more than $5 million. It was 2 daycares operating inside the same building, and today that location was raided. When I originally went to that location, it said open 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. However, there was actually never any children there, and it was not even open during their operating hours because it was fraudulent. And all the windows were blacked out, doorbell didn't.
All right, so let's see. Public records show Nick Shirley's parents were named as defendants in a 2018 bankruptcy trustee adversary proceeding involving alleged improper or avoidable financial transfers, according to a Facebook post by Do4Politics. This was a civil, not criminal matter. It was not a criminal conviction or a finding of fraud. So I can't say you're accurate, Mr. Mike, unless you have some data to back it up.
Didn't work, you name it. Now they have been raided. Another location that was raided was called the Somali.
We got another image right here. We got the cowboy. Cowboy in the chat. There you go. I think this picture's probably better, right? Yeah.
Senior Center and Adult Day Services. I went and investigated a non-emergency medical transportation company that was just right next door to this, and in my video you'll see that we spotted out the Somali Senior Center and Adult Day Services.
Yo, user TT, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
There were about 5 other daycares and adult daycares and non-emergency medical transportation companies right next to this building. They have now been raided. Another location that got raided was a daycare right next to the non-emergency medical transportation company that we exposed for.
Awesome. Any donations help, man. Donate for Nick. Donate here. We love y'all. We're going live every day at 2026. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, become a member, throw in a super chat.
Not even existing, where I was then pushed out by a mob of Somalians for investigating the fraud that was taking place there. There's a whole lot more fraud than just that daycare inside that location. However, the daycare there did also get raided. And it wasn't just the daycares and adult daycares that they raided. They also allegedly raided some autism centers as well. For instance, in my original...
Yeah, Mangus 8417 says, God bless Nick Shirley. Such nice words, buddy. God bless you too, man. That's awesome, for sure.
Original video, we located and visited a location that had received over $3.6 million. It's a daycare that also was running Feeding Our Future, and just a block away from that daycare was an autism center. Turns out the owner of the daycare and the owner of the autism center are the same person. So there's even more proof about the fraud that was taking place. Now, what I find super interesting about these raids taking place is for months and months you had people defending the fraud that was taking place. In fact, I even had to testify in front of Congress about the fraud that was taking place, and hardly any Democrats even showed up to the hearing. And when it was their turn...
Dems, what's going on? Where you at, Dems? Come on, man. Support your favorite journalist in the world, Nick Shirley.
...to ask me a question, none of them asked me a single question. That proved to me that the fraud was so deep that they were too afraid to even ask me a question about the fraud that was taking place in Minnesota. In fact, instead of asking me, they asked the person next to me, who was on the side of the Democrats in that case, about the fraud that I exposed. He said that I was not credible enough to be exposing this fraud, which is a bit crazy now that we see everything that is transpiring. Ilhan Omar, her net worth went from $30 million to less than $100,000 now, and she has not...
Oh, 30 million to less than 100,000. That's quite a jump. How much is that? That's a lot.
Not said a word about the fraud being exposed because it has openly taken place underneath her district and underneath her peers inside of Minnesota. Therefore, she has been completely silent about the fraud. And right now, I do think this is a pivotal point for our country to go after all of the fraudsters, and not only go after the fraudsters, but what it is doing is it is putting the fraudsters on high.
Just to let you know, moving from $30 million down to $100,000 is an absolute drop of 29.9 million, which represents a 99.67% decrease in value. So whatever type of investment she's doing wasn't good for her to go from 30 million down to 100,000.
Alert. In all 50 states, you have people defrauding the government from these programs underneath welfare that are completely and utterly just defrauding people. So now all these other fraudsters are going to be on high alert now because they do not want to get raided next, which is awesome, because hopefully that will be another way where we can root out all the fraud by making people too afraid to commit the fraud if they know that the feds are actually looking into it, because for so long nobody was looking into this fraud, and that's why it's able to take place in locations like Minnesota, where if you were then to expose the fraud, you'd have your governor call you a racist, Islamophobic, white supremacist. So I do think this will now put the fraudsters on high alert, knowing that the feds are looking into the fraud and they are cracking down on these individuals, and I do think we can expect to see.
How amazing is this? And what's going to happen? Is there anything that's going to happen with this situation? I think there needs something to happen. Otherwise, if nothing happens and they're just free to roam, free to go, then what's going to stop other people from committing such crimes and stealing from the hardworking and hard-paying United States citizens who are paying those tax dollars? And those fraudsters are just taking advantage of it. It's very unfair. We're going live every day at 2026. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, become a member, throw in a super chat. Super chats are on the bottom left.
See prosecutions and arrests take place, and that was only 22 raids that took place. I'm sure there's probably hundreds of other businesses inside of the Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul area where they can also crack down on the fraud as well. And remember, right now we are running a discount because it is National Layering Day. Everything on the website is
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so there's the K Queen. She was sentenced to prison in an O-D of extinguish of the actor Matthew Perry. What in the world?
The drug dealer to the stars, known as the ketamine queen, learned her fate today for selling Friends actor Matthew Perry the drugs that ultimately killed him.
Jasveen Sangha received the harshest penalty of the 5 people charged in the death of the Friends actor. KTLA's Lindsay Pena outside the federal courthouse with more on today's sentencing. Lindsay.
Micah, court, Sangha is the third of 5 defendants to be sentenced in this case. The judge today siding with prosecutors, saying her actions showed a callous disregard for life. Family of the late Matthew Perry.
Barry, how you doing, buddy? Barry has joined the chat, y'all.
Including his mother and stepfather, seen walking into the federal courthouse Wednesday for the sentencing of the drug dealer connected to his death.
Messenger No Importante says, yes, his videos have led to many arrests. And I think he is referring to Mr. Nick Shirley.
Jasveen Sangha, dubbed the ketamine queen of North Hollywood.
Hugh says it was Perry's choice. What was Perry's choice?
Was ultimately given 15 years in prison for her role in the overdose death of the Friends star. Sangha pleaded guilty last September to 5 felony charges, including distribution of ketamine resulting in death or serious bodily
Double A Rond, how you doing, buddy?
injury. Federal prosecutors say she provided thousands of
Interesting.
dollars worth of the powerful drug to Perry, including the batch that ultimately killed him in October of 2023. Sangha's attorney, Mark Garagos, had argued that she be sentenced to time served, saying she'd been in custody since August of 2024 and had no prior criminal history. He spoke outside the courthouse after the sentencing.
There's no way that Jasveen is 5 times.
Opinion. Yeah, people can have opinions. That's true. People can definitely have opinions.
More culpable than the person who injected Matthew Perry with the drug.
Barry says we should have a moment of silence for the brave men and women who gave their, you know what, in World War XI. Man, you're jumping around, dude. We've got. I gotta find that one. We're gonna cover that one, bro. We're covering that one.
Or the doctor who got the drug.
2 of Sangha's co-defendants in the case have already been sentenced. Dr. Salvador Plasencia to 2.5 years in prison and Dr. Mark Chavez to less than a year of house arrest. The other 2 defendants, Perry's personal assistant Kenneth Iwamasa, who admitted to injecting the fatal dose, and Eric Fleming, who prosecutors say coordinated the sale of the drug, are scheduled to be sentenced in the coming months. Legal experts say the time given to Sangha sends a strong message
to other drug dealers out there, and that is that if you supply the drugs that eventually result in someone's death, it's more than just drug dealing. It's distribution resulting in
Do y'all agree with that?
death, and you may spend more than a decade in prison as a result.
Now, in addition to those 15 years, Sangha was also ordered to serve 3 years supervised release. That's the latest from downtown LA. Lindsay Pena, KTLA 5 News. Micah Court, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Good evening.
There you go. Lindsay. All right, so Mr. Musk, you know which Musk? Mr. Elon Musk dropping a $1 billion lawsuit.
I'm Bill Malugin, and this is your Fox News report. The man accused of opening fire during the White House Correspondents' Dinner is charged with attempting to assassinate President Trump. Cole Allen also facing other charges. He allegedly stormed the dinner Saturday night, planning to target Trump administration officials. One Secret Service agent was shot, but was saved by his bulletproof vest. Allen is due back in court on Thursday. King Charles and Queen Camilla.
But do we know who let go of that hot iron from the hand-operated extinguisher?
Are in Washington for a state visit marking the 250th anniversary of U.S. independence. The royals welcomed by President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump at the White House. The trip comes as the Iran war tests U.S. and U.K. relations. The king will address a joint meeting of Congress tomorrow. Iran is offering to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and allow negotiations over its nuke program later down the line if the U.S. lifts its blockade on Iranian ports and ends the war. President Trump is reportedly unlikely to accept that offer. Elon Musk is suing his former partner, Sam Altman, over the future of OpenAI. Jury selection began today. Musk is seeking $180 billion, claiming OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT, was supposed to remain a nonprofit. The company argues Musk is trying to control the market. And a Florida woman accidentally drives her lifted pickup.
Yeah, we covered that. We covered that one. My goodness, my goodness. Ilhan, talk to us about World War 11. The reason we took a moment of silence.
The Alien Enemies Act was invoked. It was used to detain and deport German, Japanese, Italian immigrants during World War 11. Oh, 2.
World War 11. 2. Did she just say that?
Sorry.
Representative Ilhan Omar was mocked on social media over a resurfaced video where she referred to World War II as World War 11. In the January 22nd,
DB Super G Mode says World War 11 with rice and beans. 100%. Yeah, bro, why weren't you here yesterday? Everyone was crying. You weren't here, Barry. What's going on, buddy?
Second, 2025.
How you doing? Everything okay?
Clip. Omar, flanked by other congressional Democrats, calls for the repeal of the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which President Trump invoked to quickly
Tune Triple X has joined the chat. Barry, you've been without power for the last 2 days. What's going on? You doing all right?
Deport suspected Venezuelan gang members in the country illegally. The last time the
Hannibal 54689 says 315 farms filed for bankruptcy in 2025 alone. That's way too many. How can we help the farmers, man? That's too many.
The Alien Enemies Act was invoked. It was used to detain and deport German, Japanese, Italian immigrants during World War XI, Congresswoman declared, reading from prepared remarks.
First, I want to thank my partner in this, Senator Hirono, for her leadership in this work to repeal.
LARPA Marx has joined the chat saying, I hope World War 113 doesn't break out. World War 113. Me too, man. Me too. But we're going live every day at 2026, so make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, throw in a super chat. It's on the bottom left, that little 0 out of 5 thing you see, and become a member.
The outdated and dangerous Alien Enemies Act of 1798. The last time the Alien Enemies Act was invoked, it was used to detain and deport German, Japanese, Italian immigrants during World War XI. Oh, 2. Sorry. One of the most shameful chapters of American history. Now, Stephen Miller.
She's like the type of person, she's like, nah, I don't need to read the script. Just send me the script. Don't give me the dates of World War XI. Don't give me the dates of World War XI. I never heard of Roman numerals. I don't use Roman numerals. What are Roman numerals? What are they? Those are Roman numerals, these things. I guess this one right here kind of looks like an 11, I guess.
And Donald Trump are preparing to dust off the law for their plan for mass deportation. This will be another moral stain on our country. The context in which Trump and Miller are raising the Alien Enemy Act is in what they say are their plans to target cartels and transnational criminal gangs. But it is not what the Alien Enemies Act does. The Alien Enemies Act targets people based on their nationality, not based on their behavior. When Trump and
not based on their behavior. There you go. We got DG47 Arm S says this shows the childish nature of MSGA. What is MSGA? Yvonne's female dog, happy about our mistakes under the President of the United States, had the vocabulary of a F-word 2-year-old. Please let me know what you're talking about. Would love to know what you're talking about.
Miller tell you this is about stopping the cartels, do not believe them.
Hannibal says help the farms by not deporting their workers. There you go. Yeah, if they're upright people, you know, and not committing crimes. What do you guys think? That's a pretty powerful one. Or develop some farmhands by American citizens. Let these American citizens get those strong hands by becoming a farmhand and become a farmer. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every day at 2026.
Do not.
President Trump has previously criticized the Minnesota Democrats' intelligence, referring to her as low IQ Ilhan Omar.
In Minnesota, $19 billion. But that's only for one little aspect of the fraud. It's $19 billion, and California, as they say, is 10 times worse, and other states are 10. And this is not a Republican-Democrat thing. This is wherever it's taking place. It seems that it's usually in blue states. If it's in a red state, we're going there too. But it seems
true, Josh. True.
Seems that it's heavily Democrat, and what they've done is so sad. When you look at the Minnesota scam, a lot of it has to do with Somalia. Nobody's calling out anybody, but a lot of it has to do, but it's Somalia and plenty of others. And I believe the governor is complicit. I believe Ilhan Omar is complicit. I believe that your attorney general is complicit, and if they are, you're going to hopefully find out about it, and you're going to have to do what you have to do. If we found half of the fraud that's taking place in this country, and I think you have a chance of doing that, we would have much more than a balanced budget. That's the kind of numbers you're talking about. The theft is incredible. And I think JD will make, and Andrew will make a charge later on that local states should handle nursing homes and all of these things, that the federal government shouldn't be involved in. It's too big. The federal government should handle military and a couple of other things. But when it comes to nursing homes, you saw where a young gentleman was going around and knocking on doors, and none of the nursing homes existed, none of the nurseries existed. The money that's being paid out, and the federal government pays for it. When you see all these people coming in illegally into...
Just imagine what all that money can do for farmers and these local small towns and these cities, these people in education.
Our country, many criminals, many drug dealers, murders, 11,888 murders. And you look at California, and more come in, and yet they never had money, and yet they pay them. You know why they pay them? Because the federal government is charged with paying. We're not paying them anymore, and I said that. So these two really smart guys are going to be, I think it's going to, hopefully it's going to be JD's. This will not be like a...
Curtis WT2Y jumping in the chat saying everyone's argument against Trump is that what he says is hurtful. Then they say that because it is hurtful, it must be false. All right, everything he says is hurtful. Okay. Interesting.
A Kamala, where she was put in charge of the border, and she never went there, JD, right? You promise?
I promise, sir.
Remember, Kamala was put in charge. She was the border czar. She never went to the border. She never called any of the great Border Patrol. The Border Patrol testified. We never spoke to her in 40.
Solo 741 says, laugh out loud, that's not everyone's argument. It's all the crime he commits. I think he, Solo, is referring to POTUS, Mr. Trump.
For years. That was a disaster, but this is different. This is a different group of people. I think maybe before JD, I'll ask Stephen Miller say a few words too, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, under President Trump's leadership, as we've seen, the illegal flow across the southern border was stopped completely. But what we found since President Trump came into office is that the Democrats have set up a system to funnel hundreds of billions in.
Anthony Mummert jumping on the chat saying, you know, sometimes the truth hurts. There you go. There you go.
Ultimately, trillions of
Thank you for your chat, buddy.
dollars to migrants that are in our country, oftentimes from places like Somalia. So as an example, ICE recently asked a group of illegal immigrants that were
Terry jumping in on the chat saying estimates of total untaxed wealth held offshore by the world's richest individuals, often termed hidden money, range from 3.55 trillion to over 32 trillion. So from 3 to 32 trillion, that's a big gap, but that's a lot of money.
Were in detention, whether or not they were receiving Medicaid. Half of them raised their hands and volunteered that they were on Medicaid. Just volunteered that. These aren't the ones who are hiding it, right? They also asked illegal aliens how they paid their medical bills, and they said that if they don't have Medicaid, they go to hospitals, they get free care there, and they bill it to the taxpayers. So they aren't paying for any of their own health care in this country. It's just one example. And we've seen this over and over and over again. So under President Trump's leadership, and then of course with JD and the head of the FTC, Andrew Ferguson, we're going to see the first ever effort in American history to reclaim the ultimately trillions.
User TT says Barron 2040. Are you talking about Barron Trump? Is that a possibility?
Of dollars that were stolen from taxpayers. I believe, and I know President Trump believes, that when this theft is exposed, we will see that if all of it were stopped, it would be enough to balance the budget. The extraction of wealth from American taxpayers to people who don't belong here is the primary cause of the national debt, and this is the first ever effort to shut that down. Thank you, Mr. President.
First ever. And everyone knows they've been cheating for years. It's the first ever. And it's got to be stopped. I mean, it's got to be stopped. Think of it, Somalia is a third world, maybe a fourth world nation. One of the worst, one of the most dangerous. They don't have anything. They don't have councils. They don't have government. They don't have police. They shoot each other all over the place. They come here and they steal $19 billion. That's crazy. And Ilhan Omar, I hope this is part of it, but she married her brother, supposedly. I mean, there's a lot of documentation.
That's
I mean,
so
she's
wild.
here illegally and she's a congresswoman. And I
How you doing, Trump Bunny? Happy to have you in here.
hope you're going to be looking at that, or somebody is, all right? Because she's one of the ringleaders here. She's bad news, really bad news. She's so bad for our country. Anyway, JD, please say a few words.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, Mr. President. This is a very important whole-of-government approach to tackle the fraud problem. And let me just tell one story. One of the things that even before this executive order was signed that we were able to stop under the president's leadership is we saw evidence that in Minneapolis there were Somalis, primarily illegal immigrants, who were defrauding a Medicaid program that was meant to go to autistic children. So they were taking children who were...
Oh, we got someone in the chat asking if Barron Trump can run for president. Barron Trump cannot currently run for president because he does not meet the age requirement. As of April 2026, he is 20 years old, while the U.S. Constitution requires candidates to be at least 35 years old. Given that, he can be president in about 15 years, right? And he meets the other requirements, which are natural-born citizen and resident for 14 years, and could potentially run in the future elections once he reaches that age, with some commentary speculating on his political potential. What do you think? Would he be an amazing president?
supposed to get benefits, and they were claiming that their kids were actually autistic even though they weren't. And what did this mean? This meant two things. Number one, you had a lot of people getting rich off of the fraud while American citizens got poorer. And the second thing that it meant is that you had autistic kids in Minneapolis, in suburban Minneapolis, who weren't getting benefits they needed because Somali fraudsters were literally stealing out of their pocket. It's got to stop. And unfortunately, that kind of fraud is one example of probably hundreds just within the state of Minneapolis, and then it's repeated and replayed all over the United States.
Get him, JD. Get him. Get him. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, throw in a super chat, become a member
of America. When we first started talking about this problem, the president made it very clear he wanted us to take the
Brooklyn NIS 718 says she married her brother Ilhan Omar. Allegedly did marry her brother.
Fraud problem seriously because nobody had until he was president. We started to figure out one big hole that existed is that the agencies of the government weren't actually talking to each other. So Treasury would have evidence of financial fraud, but wasn't talking to the Department of Justice about it. Health and Human Services had evidence of Medicaid fraud, but wasn't talking to the Department of Treasury about it. So what this executive order does is force the entire apparatus of the federal government to do two things: stop the fraud in the American taxpayer and make sure.
So allegedly, Ilhan Omar marrying her brother is an unproven, a long-standing rumor that she has repeatedly denied. So according to her, no. But according to rumors, yes. So I can't say for sure she has. Various political figures and online forums have circulated the claim since 2016. No credible evidence or official documents have ever substantiated a familial relationship between Omar and her second husband. There you go. We like to tell the truth. We like to find out the truth over here. So make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. But that's the deal. That is the deal. Hegseth giggling at TMZ questions.
Right here, new members of our press corps here.
New members. TMZ is a new member of the press. All right. All right. We got Hannibal saying Kamala was right. Right about what?
Jacob Wasserman with TMZ DC. We have two questions. I'm going to ask the first. My colleague will ask the second. You know, I've heard you talk a lot about bombing.
We'll see.
Sorry?
We'll see.
Okay. I've heard you talk a lot about bombing people and places. And when you give these orders to carry out this extreme level of violence, what's going through your mind and your body? Do you have like an adrenaline rush? Are you scared? Do you feel like you're on a power trip? Just walk us through and paint us a picture of what it feels like mentally and physically.
It's a very TMZ question. My only thought process is to ensure that our warfighters have everything they need to be successful, defeat and destroy the enemy, and they come home. I want them to feel empowered, to have every authority they need within our rules and within our law to bring maximum violence to the enemy. Because war is violent. War requires doing difficult things, but I want our people to feel empowered, so it's our guys that come home. And
yeah, our guys need to come home. That's right. Tell them.
There are guys that do not. Sure, I'll give you one chance.
Charlie Cotton from TMZ DC. You changed the Department of Defense to the Department of War. Would you consider changing the name again to the Department of Peace, since that's what we're all after?
Well, that's the pursuit. It's a great question, actually. You go from defense to war because you want to be proactive about peace through strength. And really, I gave a speech in front of generals about what the ethos of the War Department is all about, because I wanted to go through every echelon of this department. It means something. It's not just words. And when you fight a war the right way, the idea is on the other side you bring about peace. That is
100% agree with him. Let's bring some peace into the world, y'all. What do you think? What do you think? Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every day at 2026. Become a member. Throw in a super chat.
What we'd like to see the most. In fact, I once did a video about the one institution that should win the Nobel Peace Prize every single year is the United States military, because we are the guarantor of the safety and security of not just of our country, but of a lot of people in this world. Last question.
Trump has cratered.
Last question. Last question. Megyn Kelly. Oh, Megan. What's she talking about? Oh, the polls. The Trump polls. Where do they get this information? These Trump polls. You guys know about it? No liar. Saying lying. Scum. Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about? My goodness. Pam says he's a drunk. See you. Hashtag TS. All right. There you go. Thank you for being one of the 19% of a female audience. It always jumps around from like 18 to 23%. So make sure you all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every day of 2026. Throw in a super chat. Become a member. Talk to us, Megyn Kelly. Talk to us.
I mean, cratered. It's like not even present tense anymore. It's done. Just 23% approve of his overall performance.
We got Salty Alaskan 79 saying, I like Hegseth. Smart cookie. There you go, buddy. Thank you for supporting Hegseth.
21% of independents support this war on Iran. 21. You've got 79% of independents who are against. Folks, you cannot win elections like that. Democrat or Republican, you got 80% of the independents against you. You're effed. You need to adjust something ASAP. And listen to this. How many independents approve of Trump's job performance when it comes to the cost of living? 12. They were already suffering and they were blaming him. And then we launched a war.
User TT, I hope you can find a natural remedy, man. Be strong, buddy. Be strong.
Of choice that was not necessary. And their gas prices went up. And energy prices are going up. So this pain is likely only to get worse. And this war needs to come to an end right away. At least now President Trump seems to want it. Unfortunately, as the old saw goes, it's very easy to start a war and very difficult to end one. The Iranians get a say, and they're not rolling over.
What is that? I'm happy you're kidding, man. I'm happy you're kidding. Nicole H-Yak says, Megyn Kelly is Nicole Brown hidden in plain sight. Another loser. The world is a stage. Central casting created in the 1900s. My goodness. Do you agree with that, chat?
Maybe the vice president thinks he has to kiss Theo Vaughn's half in order to keep him in the coalition, and that's his political calculation. I think it's a bad political calculation.
Ben Shapiro repeatedly called the comedian Theo Vaughn the R word on his program. You won't be surprised to find out that just a few weeks ago, Vaughn went viral for being critical of Israel. I think it's fair to connect the two incidents.
It's a little wild. That's a tough one, right? Very tough one. And Shapiro, Ben Shapiro can definitely communicate very quickly. But where does freedom of speech lay in this situation?
Israel's invaded Lebanon. Yeah.
Just fucking stop. Like, what do you need?
They're trying to stop the terror.
Yeah, that's crazy, though, if you're the fucking You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to stop them, fucking stand in front of the fucking mirror.
What do you think, chat? What do you think, chat? How can we ask that question? Should we take a poll? About America being in Iran? You guys support America being in Iran? All right. Do you guys know about Lee Zeldin? I got a request from a very awesome person to see this thing. I was not aware of this thing. This thing is wild. This thing is super duper wild. G47 Arms says M. Aga is extinguished with sideways crying, laughing faces. What do you mean, man? What do you mean? Or woman? Oh, user TT says, yeah, he baked her. You guys ready for this one? Y'all ready for this one? Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every day of 2026. Become a member. Throw in some super chats. This is going to be wild. Let's do it.
Mr. Laura?
Let's do it. Oh, man, this guy, he's got that turn. He's got that turn and look.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make one point because I'm a strong believer in science and research, but it's my understanding that
Diane Stefan, 7004 says, everything is AI. How do we know what's real anymore? You know what? There's a lot of things that are AI. Very much so. Very much so. Like, if you remember, you get some of these things like that. That's a kitty. It's one of those African cats that can jump really high. This is a dog. It laughs. And that's all AI. That's custom created by me. And if you become a member, I can send you those things so you guys can use them wherever you want. And Veronica is also AI, but somebody throw in a super chat so we can bring out Veronica. But usually if there's AI and you see someone speaking, you can see some imperfections in the mouth or with the hands. Those are like tall tell signs. And then there's also some artifacts in the audio when people are speaking, so you can definitely tell. But some of this AI has gotten so good, it's hard to tell. But from my understanding, it looks like this is recorded with a camcorder with a very small sensor, just given the graininess and the lack of depth of field. But this looks real.
the Trump administration, the agency.
And we try not to put AI in or play AI here on our stream, unless it's obviously evident, like those Lego videos that Iran creates.
Has shed 20% of its staff, either wiped out or deeply slashed several programs, including the Office of Research and Development. I'm interested in the same way Ms. Pingree is about, I mean, quite frankly, I thrive on research, biomedical research or any kind of research. I find it that this is not an administration that places a lot of eggs in that research basket, and that they don't have a problem with cutting that back, and it would appear that 20% cut in staff there. So it would be interesting to know about the scientists, et cetera, and what direction they tell us we should be going in. Climate change.
Climate change. We got Connecting Rabbit Holes 2506 saying that's the rubbish AI we get. Are you talking about my AI creations? And also, if you become a member, you get your own option to create your own custom AI. I show you how to do that too. So if you think my AI is rubbish, thank you. But how can it get better?
Real, happening all around us. That's a quote, by the way. Climate change is real and happening all around us. That is directly from EPA's website. I imagine my shock when I learned that it hasn't been scrubbed from the website. Although I fully expect to check in about a week, and maybe it will be taken down. I guess we'll...
Rudy Armenta says, who let the gypsy out? Woof, 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 woof.
See whether or not that's the case. I'm shocked because the science tells us that climate change is real and accelerating. And really, the effects and the impact of climate change are real. I don't know. You probably did see the report on Antarctica and the glaciers and melting and all this. It was an extraordinary documentary over this past weekend. This is an administration that is hell-bent, in my view, on ignoring science. Just 2 weeks ago, you reportedly attended a climate deniers conference. And in your remarks, you said, quote, "For those who wanted to criticize my appearance here before this group, it really shows the desperation of just how many walls have collapsed of this last line of defense," end quote. In Connecticut, we have seen increasing heat waves, extreme precipitation, devastating floods, impacting everything, farming, school closures, damaging homes and businesses. Climate change is harming our health and our environment, but is also harming Americans financially. This administration, however, is running the playbook on making the problem worse, focusing on policies that are handouts to the fossil fuel companies, like reversing the 2009 greenhouse gas endangerment finding, rolling back fuel emission standards for motor vehicles, and reducing methane leak monitoring requirements. The budget proposal reads like a climate change denier's manifesto.
Diane Stefan says, now I see it's real because she's a nut job. Who brought out the walnuts and the cashews and the almonds?
When climate change is flooding our streets, poisoning our air.
Yeah, that methane is apparently from a lot of cow farts from those farmers. How dare them. Inspired by the vegans, allegedly.
Driving up healthcare and disaster costs. How can the EPA justify abandoning that duty to protect Americans to appease polluters under the false flag of economic growth?
Following the law, Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, where does it say anything about fighting global climate change? Loper Bright, Supreme Court case, you familiar with it?
No, I maybe others are. I'm not, but let me ask.
But that's really important. As a member of Congress, Loper Bright says that we, as an agency, don't have the authority to get creative. If Section 202 of the Clean Air Act,
no, but you don't have. Excuse me. You do not have the right to say climate change does not exist. That it's a hoax, and that.
Oh, she's getting aggressive. Cali Chica 6196. Thank you for being a subscriber. How you doing? How you doing? Everybody, welcome. Cali Chica. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every day at 2026. Throw in a super chat. Become a member. I love you. The Lord loves you. And your new community loves you.
That's where this administration is coming from.
I understand you're upset that you don't know what Loper Bright is. Do you know what the major policies doctrine is?
I'm upset because
you know what the major policies doctrine is?
You know what, let me just
you're a member of Congress. You should know.
Well, you have moved from someone who defended the environment to all of a sudden
being very defensive about not knowing the two biggest landmark Supreme Court cases of the last year with regards to your question.
You are very defensive about.
Oh man, who turned on the grill, bro? What's going on, dude? I didn't know this is a backyard barbecue. Diane says, I think her hair dye tainted her brain. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Changing your policy and your positions with regard to the environment.
Okay.
Now, you just tell
Do you want me
me
to tell you what the two biggest Supreme Court cases are of the last few years?
This is what I want you
Michigan
to tell
versus
me.
EPA.
Whoa.
West Virginia versus EPA.
You know, you're here because you need money from us. So halt for the second and wait for the questions and answer the question.
Well, I answered your question,
No, you
and
didn't.
you didn't like my answer because
did
you
not
don't know what
answer the
Loper Bright is,
question.
because you don't know what the major policies doctrine is,
Chairman.
because you're asking me about Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, and you don't read it. You don't know what it says.
Listen, and what you want to do is to deny. You want
No,
to.
I actually read the law. I do my homework.
Really?
You're just somebody who likes to have the microphone on. You know what I have to do? I read the law.
No,
I
Mr.
read the
Chairman,
Supreme
I don't
Court
have to
cases.
listen to this, and I would say
No,
this,
what you should do
that
for your
this-
constituents is actually read statute.
budget is at real risk.
Read
Let
your
me tell
Supreme
you,
Court.
This is the Appropriations Committee.
Oh,
you come here.
you care
and
about
you
science?
tell
Now
us-
you're threatening to defund it?
Oh my God! No, you don't fund
Because
science.
you don't know what Loper Bright is.
climate
Because you don't know what the
deniers.
major policies
You are
doctrine is. Your
climate
message
deniers.
to our folks at the EPA is that you want to
I don't
defund
have
us.
to listen to this BS.
The BS. You think I made up these cases?
Yeah, I think you have made up a whole
I
lot of
I made
BS.
up Loper Bright. I made up West Virginia versus EPA. I made up Michigan versus EPA.
Woe is right. What are you doing? Why
Wait,
are you helping polluters?
She does not want to listen to this man or the other man.
We're not going to get any very far by talking on top of each other so that no one can hear. If you ask a question, you have to give the witness an
I
opportunity
do not have to
respond.
have the witness attack me. Not when he's
You
here
have
as
to
a
give the
supplicant
witness a
for
chance.
federal resource.
All right, so this lady is Representative Rosa DeLauro. She's actively challenging the Trump administration environmental policies. She recently engaged in a heated exchange with EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, who was the other gentleman there, over proposed budget cuts, which she characterized as a climate change denier's manifesto, and criticized the administration for appeasing polluters.
Answer the question.
I've asked a question, I don't have an answer.
Oh, so what, you want me to start over with the last question? What's your question? Do you have a new one?
My question to you is in what is going on in our streets today with regarding flooding, what's going on with our air, quality, what is happening with in the Antarctic, how do you abandon what the EPA's...
Barry says, I don't know how people can wake up in the morning and purposefully look like that and go out in public.
Our duties are to protect Americans. And because, in fact, given the way you have dealt with the budget, it is a sop to polluters. You are really, it would appear, I just said what the president claimed at Mar-a-Lago is, you give me $1 billion and I'll make sure that you are made rich. I didn't say that. Your boss, the president of the United States, was clear on that. And that's what this is. That's what is going on here.
Okay.
So you don't have an answer.
No. Let me answer. Oh, please, let me answer your question. Can I answer? Yes. Oh, thank you, Chairman. So it's interesting. You're saying that we're letting polluters off the hook.
Yeah.
Is that your position? Yeah. Okay. So since January 20th, in the first year of the Trump administration, we sentenced more criminal defendants, 100 compared to the 91 of the last year of the Biden administration.
Oh, God,
we obtained far more in criminal fees and restitution. In the last year of the Biden administration, the number is $57.7 million.
There
in
you
the
go.
first year of the Trump administration, it's $561.9 million. We also have obtained far more in criminal forfeiture. So in the last year of the Biden administration, they obtained, get this, 0.1.
Tara dropping in some heat in the chat saying Betty Flintstone's ugly to win. Thank you, Tara. Always a pleasure to have you in the chat.
$1 million. $0.1 million. You want how much we did?
Oh, tell us.
1.1.
Cal 007 P8M says her bathing ruins our waters. Her talking pollutes the air. And maybe our ears and brains. My goodness. Thank you so much, Cal 007, for your chat. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every day of 2026. Throw in a super chat. Become a member.
$1 billion.
Tell us. How many of those projects did Biden start for you? Okay. Look, I don't go back to Biden. I'm going forward.
Pounds of illegal pesticides. No, you're actually making an accusation that we're letting the polluters off the hook. Pounds of illegal pesticides blocked from entering the U.S. 1.65 million pounds. Previously, it was 0.96 million pounds.
1.6 versus 0.96. That sounds like a W. Well done. Keep that illegal stuff outside of the United States.
This is another one. Cleanup of contaminated soil and water. In the last year of the Biden administration, 1.99 million cubic yards. In the first year of the Trump administration, 59.3 million cubic yards. More value of injunctive relief, 6.02 billion. More civil enforcement case conclusions.
Okay.
So you want to make the claim that we're just giving up on the work of the Enforcement and Compliance Office.
Glyphosate.
Is that your question? I'd say don't. If your cup was filled with glyphosate, I'm telling you, as the administrator of EPA, don't drink it.
Yeah, don't touch glyphosate, man. That stuff is a wildly bad, toxic stuff. Horrible. Outlaw that stuff, man.
Thank you so much for agreeing to what we need to do.
I don't know what the question was. You're holding up a cup saying glyphosate.
You know.
Don't drink it. Don't inject it.
Maybe you should try doing that. Okay? Excuse me.
That's evil, bro. That's so evil. That is absolutely evil. How can she say that to such a gentleman?
Okay, I'm going to move on to a second question, Mr. Chairman.
I hope it's not as long as the first one.
Well, it wouldn't have been prolonged, except that you know it's interesting.
Yeah, we come with facts. We have answers.
Go ahead.
She's waiting. I didn't pause it.
It really is. They're really so blank arrogant, you know.
All right, now I paused it. Blank arrogant. All right, just to let you know, drinking a cup of glyphosate-based herbicide is a life-threatening medical emergency. She says, I hope you would drink a cup of glyphosate to that gentleman, Lee Zeldin. How dare you, Rosa DeLauro? That's not good to try to hurt people. That's not the route to peace. Especially as is she Republican or Democrat? Aren't Democrats supposed to be like for peace and all that type of stuff? I don't know. Let me know, chat. But that statement does not encourage peace. That encourages harm. It encourages harm, not good. So while the glyphosate itself has a certain level of toxicity, many commercial herbicide formulations contain surfactants and other additives that can be significantly more toxic and corrosive when ingested in large quantities. Yeah, you can get gastrointestinal damage, respiratory distress, cardiovascular issues, organ failure, and neurological impact. Yeah, and if that ever happens, make sure you call emergency services or contact poison control at 1-800-222-1222. And do not induce vomiting. Identify the product. And yeah, if there's like a crisis or a extinguishment thing, call or text 988. Available 24/7 in the US and Canada. Just want to place that out there for people because we don't encourage any type of hate or hurtful things.
No, when they're really making a mockery of what the agencies are all about. 40 years, Clean Water and Drinking Water State Revolving Loan Funds have provided low-interest loans to eligible recipients for water infrastructure projects. Money is paid back into the revolving loan fund. The state makes new loans to other recipients for high-priority water quality activities. This budget proposes $305 million in total for two revolving funds, an $852 million or 74% cut from the $1.2 billion enacted in 2026. This
Jay Fernandez 12356 has jumped into the chat saying RFK approved it. Laugh out loud. I wish Jay Fernandez was incorrect, but as of February 2026, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., serving as Health and Human Services Secretary, supports a Trump executive order boosting glyphosate production despite having previously sued the manufacturer of the weed killer. Dude, Waffle. Is Waffle in the chat? What do you have to say about that? That little flippy floppy. Come on, RFK Jr., what you doing, man? Come on, man.
This is under the guise of, quote, encouraging states to take responsibility for local water infrastructure projects, end quote. Quite the encouragement. Overnight, states face massive cuts to their budget, would be forced to make impossible choices to fill the gap. Connecticut would go from receiving an estimated $28.2 million in 2026 to only $3.2 million in 2027, an 89% cut. This approach was roundly rejected in the bipartisan, bicameral 2026 agreement for this bill.
Barry, are you talking about me or Ilhan Omar? I know how to read Roman numerals, my brother.
According to EPA's own assessments, our drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater systems need at least $1.3 trillion in improvements over the next 20 years. Funding that states use for critical purposes. They repair or they upgrade wastewater treatment.
Warren Hardy, how you doing? Good morning. This is Rosa DeLaro talking with Lee Zeldin.
Facilities, well repairs, emergency actions that are needed in the aftermath of natural disasters to make sure residents do not lose access to safe, clean water. Town of Wallingford, Connecticut. Use the revolving funds to upgrade their water pollution control facility to help remove phosphorus and put UV disinfection methods.
She knows how to
place.
make sound.
Now, easy one. Is it generally more cost-effective to maintain water infrastructure in good standing or wait until it breaks down? For example, a water main rupturing and flooding a community and then clean up the problem.
It's a huge problem in this country that you have aging water infrastructure. We saw with the Potomac.
Yeah, that water infrastructure needs to be absolutely pristine. And Jay Fernandez says this worm isn't going to address the admin approved it. What are you talking about, buddy?
Interceptor.
Mm-hmm. Given that states will not be...
Cali Chica 6196 says she could have looked more representable for courts instead of that purple hair. Absolutely. Dropping in W's in the chat.
Be able to plug the budget hole. I don't know if you've taken a look at the budgets of states.
Oh, we studied
these
everything.
days.
It's
You
in front
do.
of us.
Well, I don't know if you've studied the state of Connecticut's budget.
Jambo366 says Bayern has paid out over $10 billion in cancer-related health cases. My goodness. Maybe even more than that.
What is your plan for communities when they inevitably suffer failures in their water systems, which is going to happen?
With all due respect to all of the amazing initiatives that you call congressionally directed spending, and we see firsthand that a lot of the projects that we're administering includes a lot of very good use as members of Congress set out in their desire to have this congressionally directed.
Barry dropping in W's in the chat saying, if you see colored hair or a nose ring, easily offended, you know it's a Democrat.
Spending included in appropriations. We don't include that in our proposal. How much you might choose to raid the SRF on congressionally directed spending is a decision that Congress makes as you go through your deliberative process. I'm not saying that, passing judgment
Yes,
on
you
individual
are.
projects. No, actually, I'm not. But I'm saying I don't ask for your earmarks for you. That's a process that you all have. You're not going to see that in the president's FY27 budget. You're not going to see congressionally driven set-asides. The SRF fund would be flowing as a revolving fund if it wasn't continuously rated for earmarks and set-asides.
I see.
Well, you're the ranking member of the Appropriations
Tell me
Committee. You
about
should
it.
understand that.
Tell me about it. And I introduced community projects a number of years
Right,
ago.
and I could sit here trashing them, but I'm not. You
Please
have a
don't.
process.
Because members would not, they were designed for a purpose because, let me just tell you, you got an 89% cut to the state revolving loan fund. You can't tell me that 89%
And I'm helping you with your
is
math.
going to community
Right, and I did not ask for your earmarks for you.
Hell no, God knows, listen.
Right, exactly.
We fund, IIJA had huge investments in water projects. CPF's in water infrastructure. We don't raid the state revolving loan fund.
Yes, you do, absolutely.
No, we do not.
100%. That's your congressionally directed spending. You're not giving them out as loans. You're just taking the money out of the SRF and you're giving them to local communities. By the way, I'm not passing judgment on what you choose to say has merit because you're making the ask on behalf of your constituents. But that's exactly what you're doing. You're taking money out of it and you're giving it to local communities. So it's no longer revolving. It's no longer a revolving fund when you take money out for set-asides and earmarks.
I tell you, we were, I think on a bipartisan basis, we were able to deal with this before. It's, in terms of the restoration, and it will be, once again, what the Appropriations Committee does on a bipartisan, bicameral basis, that will address this issue. And so, I think you have a lot to answer for in terms of what you all are doing with regard to the environment, but that's a discussion for another day. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Laurel. And if I get this straight,
oh man,
we take the community finance projects, I forget that term, out of the SRF. Consequently, state EPAs would have more money if we didn't direct spending out of that.
100%.
That's true, isn't it?
In a very, very large way.
Yeah. And I still support the SRS because, frankly, I know a lot about my communities, a lot more about my communities than anybody in Washington, D.C. does. And that's why.
We just gotta go back to that hair. Yeah, girl. You got that hairstyle. My oh my. You guys talking about MAGA. MAGA. Make America Great Again. Do you guys want to make America great again? Sounds like a good poll, right? We got the MAGA doctor expertly shuts down Caitlin Collins. What's happening here?
Hey y'all, and welcome to a special edition of Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Caitlin Collins gets her clock cleaned by Trump's head of the FDA, and you can tell she has no idea of what's really going on. And you might want to stick around because we've got a very interesting interview with Jonathan Otto, who is the CEO of Red Light. This is groundbreaking technology, okay? This is stuff that's going to have literal effects for your health, so you might want to stick around on this one. Let's dive in.
On ibogaine specifically, since it's what's mentioned in the president's executive order, was that under consideration before Joe Rogan texted?
Diana Steffen jumping in saying, how can anyone take her seriously? Would Melania Trump show up looking like trailer trash? Nope. I doubt it.
Trump?
Yeah, we've had an application for something called...
Alec Matthews saying she's a disgrace. WTF, is she a chairwoman?
called an IND, or an investigational new drug clearance, and we issued that last week, and I made that announcement.
DG47 Arms says, if you see P3D zero protectors, which the entire MAGA base is guilty of, it's a magtard. That's more of a rage bait statement. I think 99%, maybe even 100%, yeah, 100% of the people I've ever spoken to who are self-proclaimed MAGA people are not protectors of P3D zeros at all, man. At all. So you can say that. It's fine for rage bait, but not really too accurate, you know. It's a little nicer if we can find something that we can talk about together to improve our lives.
The timing worked out right during the time of the Oval. So we have now a clearance for ibogaine, which will allow for human clinical trials for the first time in the United States, paving the way for more research and ultimately a decision from the agency.
Okay, so we'll see how that goes and how that progresses. I'm also curious for your take on the other huge news that we got today. Welcome news for a lot of people, as cancer researchers are seeing promising signs for mRNA vaccines when it comes to treating pancreatic cancer. As you know, that is one of the deadliest cancers. It does come months after HHS and the secretary there canceled $500 million in funding for mRNA vaccine contracts. Do you think in light of this new research that HHS should rethink that decision?
This dude's overexposed, man. Blown out.
Well, first of all, Caitlin, I've taken care of pancreas cancer patients at Johns Hopkins for over 2 decades. I'm ecstatic to see some exciting new treatments for pancreatic cancer. We've issued a national priority voucher.
I usually don't do this, but what's going on with her face over here? This is a little interesting. What do you guys think? This is like, what's that one Ben Stiller movie where he's like acting like a model? What's that called? That's, let's just see her response a little bit while he's talking.
For another KRAS inhibitor, another class of medications separate from that of the vaccine treatments. There's a number of exciting treatments. And when it came to the
Man, is she listening or just flexing her facial muscles?
RNA vaccine research from HHS, I was very clear. We are excited about that potential technology. We just felt like it should be the companies that made $50 billion from mRNA technology during the COVID pandemic that should be funding their own research, not taxpayer dollars. Taxpayer dollars should be going for research that nobody else in the market or investor community will fund.
Zoolander.
So this research was privately funded, and as you can see, it is potentially promising. I'm looking forward to those applications coming to the FDA.
If it's a matter of these companies having enough money to fund their own research, you know, when HHS canceled those contracts, they didn't mention funding in the statement. Instead, they said that they were turning towards safer, broader vaccine platforms. They seem to.
Is this the chick that Tucker Carlson was like, oh my gosh, it was just a pleasure meeting her?
Be casting doubt on mRNA itself.
He says she's wondering if anyone has found her of yet. Salty Alaskan says she has RBF. I don't know what RBF is.
Well, let me give you. First of all, we've approved 2 mRNA updated shots in the first year of the Trump administration here in this term. What we are funding with the money from,
I think, is it better this view if we just watch this while the guy's talking?
ARPA-H that was going to.
Ardent Party, how you doing, man? Grease from Newfoundland. There you go, man. You gotta go. Oh, happy to have you on board, brother and buddy. Happy to have you here. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Throw in some super chats. Become a member.
mRNA vaccines are things that otherwise would not be funded.
That's enough of that Zoolander. Let's see this.
That could have profound impacts for those with deafness, blindness, cancer, areas that are in blind spots in American medicine. And
the Freedom FX says her mouth reminds me of the Joker without the lipstick.
In research, let me give you an example. Some of that money was diverted for a potential universal flu shot. That means that you could potentially get one shot with long-lasting, decades-long protection without having to get an annual flu shot each year. It could also enable protection against flu strains that have yet to mutate. So it is an important pandemic preparedness thing. Companies are generally not.
Maybe like if she does her, if she looks down a little bit, it might look like it. But we got a little thing here going on. Oh, let's see. It's differently placed, but we have that. And then we have this one. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Not interested in funding research for a new vaccine that's going to replace their annual vaccine with the annual revenue that comes in from those vaccines. So that's an example of sort of an area of research funding in medicine's blind spot that desperately needed funding.
But obviously mRNA changed and saved so many lives during COVID. It helped that vaccine get produced incredibly quickly, and you've seen how quickly they can update vaccines that need to be because a virus mutates. Some people might hear this executive order on ibogaine, and you're saying, we need to research this because if there's something out there that could help someone, we should be investing in that. And look at that and say, that seems contradictory with canceling so much money in mRNA research that obviously did bring a lot of good to people in the world.
Well, look, first of all, I do think the COVID shot did save lives. I think canceling is one term, but what really happened is shifting the funding to other underfunded areas of research in American medicine. At the FDA, we are referees. We want to see applications come to the agency, and we have a very simple task from Congress, and that is for companies who bring data to the FDA, do the claims that they want to make around their drugs match the data that they submit? And if they are safe and effective, regardless of what the condition is being treated, then we have a legal obligation to make a decision on those claims. So that's what we're doing. I'd like to see more cures and meaningful treatments for the American public. That's the charge President Trump has given me.
The People's Party of the USA says, get some Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana rolling. Are you talking to me? What should I see?
Fastest FDA approval was 42 days when HIV activists were demonstrating all over D.C. We need to have that same level of urgency that we did with HIV, with cancer and PTSD and mental illness and opioid use disorder and so many other conditions. We're going to have a decision out shortly on a condition that causes congenital deafness in kids. We need to have urgency with all of these issues. And so that's the exciting time we're in right now in medicine. And we're not passive at the FDA. We're not in receive-only mode. We're on the hunt, and we're getting decisions out in record speed.
Hey, y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl, and a special edition of that at best.
So the POTUS had I had a little meeting with the King and Queen of the United Kingdom.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and First Lady Melania Trump, accompanied by their Majesties, King Charles III and Queen Kimmel.
All right, so Mod had to put a user in timeout for 5 minutes. Cali Chica is on a timeout, y'all. Y'all gotta be nice to each other. Don't harass people, especially Tara. Tara's too nice to be harassed, y'all. So you're not gonna be hearing from her for about 5 minutes. But just want to make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're going live every day of 2026, and be nice to the people in the chat. We're trying to develop a good community over here. Moderator doesn't want to have to put people on a timeout. And free speech is absolutely welcome here. Absolutely welcome here. We got Roddy, 3136 saying, why isn't he meeting with the leader of the UK? The Queen and King have no power at all. None. Jay Fernandez saying, good community and MAGA don't mix. Are you not from the United States? Which country are you from? And is this a MAGA community? Waffle Jackson jumping on it. Beat me to it, even if Tara was a caveman. She's our caveman, so chill.
Thank you very much, please.
Not today, Stan 42 jumping on the chat, throwing in some knowledge, saying MAGA are not the ones rioting all the time. Well said, well said.
This is a great honor, and we welcome Their Majesties King Charles III.
Yeah, Lauren Harrington, thank you so much. Happy to have you on board. That's so nice of you.
And Queen Camilla of the United Kingdom to the White House. Very special place. Very, very special.
Beautiful profile Melania Trump has. My goodness. Gorgeous.
And I also want to, before we really begin, I want to congratulate Charles on having made a fantastic speech today at Congress. He got the Democrats to stand. I've never been able to do that. I couldn't believe it.
Trump's got jokes.
Believe it. They liked him more than they've ever liked any Republican or Democrat, actually. So I just want to thank you and congratulations. It's not an easy thing to do. That's a tough place. It's a true privilege to have you here for this historic state visit. Last fall, Melania and I had the pleasure of visiting Their Majesties at Windsor Castle, a structure that's so beautiful and so long that it never seemed to...
Edward Kelly. I can't say your second part, but yeah, the first part, gorgeous. Yeah, man. You don't think she is? Do you think she's something else?
And I look down as a former real estate person.
Yeah, dude, Trump is one of the best entertainers in the world, you know. If you like him, you don't like him, I'm sure you love his jokes, man. Trump is always funny.
And it just went on forever. And it was built by a gentleman named William the Conqueror in the year 1070. And I asked the king, I said, was he a nice man, William the Conqueror? He said, I tend to doubt it. I don't think so. When they call you William the Conqueror, generally speaking, you're not going to be too nice, but he must have been something, because it was nothing like I've ever seen Windsor Castle. But tonight in return, we are really doing something that's very special, preparing to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence. A big time in our country, very big time. And it's only natural that Americans begin this commemoration by paying tribute to the transcendent.
Alec Matthews jumping on the chat saying, notice the golden bird Rothschild's emblem. He's got the king and the eagle exposing for all to see. Is this the one you're talking about? This little eagle underneath the podium? Holding up the podium? That's big American eagle wings, maybe.
Bond we share with the nation that Thomas Jefferson himself called our mother country. He used to go around saying, "That's our mother country." How nice.
So nice. Let's do one of those wides again. Let's see what's happening over here. Getting for y'all so y'all can see exactly what he's talking about.
From English towns and Scottish hills, from Welsh mountains and Irish villages, a people unique in history sailed across the mighty Atlantic to settle and civilize this continent in the name of God, King, and country. So beautiful. They called it New England and meant that very, very literally. The first Americans saw themselves as free men carrying the forward and central liberties and ancient rights of the Anglo-Saxons.
Nate Dog 45 jumping in on the chat saying, God is good, y'all. Jesus loves y'all. Absolutely, 100%. The Lord loves you. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're going live every single day of 2026. And become a member or throw in some super chats so we can bring Veronica out.
Into this new and beautiful world. In the eyes of America's founders, our war of independence was fought not to reject this heritage, but to reclaim it and perfect it. As the founding father, George Mason, wrote, "We claim nothing but the liberty and privileges of Englishmen, in the same degree as we had still continued among our brethren when we were in Great Britain." The Declaration of Independence was a miracle for the ages that sparked a far-reaching...
Lone Wolf and Cub says, that's not a golden eagle. That's Trump's golden... ...
revolution in self-government and human freedom. But even though the political bonds between the United States and Great Britain were dissolved forever, they thought, on July 4th, 1776, the more powerful strands of memory, culture, and identity proved unbreakable in any conflict and grew into a friendship unlike any other on earth. A very, very special and incredible friendship. Historians have noted that to this day, the distinct regions of the United States still echo with the particular accents, habits, and traditions of the British communities that...
Suitman 44 RCFI says he is the most pathetic president ever in his story. Do you have any data to back that up? Please let us know. Happy to have you here in the chat. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every day of 2026. Become a member.
That first settled them centuries ago. The names of half of the original American states refer to members of the British royal family, as do American cities from Charleston to Annapolis, Charlotte to Albany, and even the place where I grew up and actually loved very much, Queens, New York. Who would have thought? But far beyond names and principles, there's something unique and very special that has always united our two people a certain nobility of spirit and heroic soul. The same audacity that called a small island kingdom to rule the seven seas, and rule them you did, inspired the children of 13 American colonies to explore a great frontier and a very, very dangerous frontier, and settle what was known as the Wild, Wild West. The men who planted the American flag on the moon carried them the same hunger for adventure and achievement as those who raised the Union Jack above Antarctica and first sailed St. George's Cross all around the globe. The American soldiers who crossed the Atlantic to freedom, rescue in 1944 were moved by the same keen sense of righteousness that drove the English Crusaders to the Holy Land 1,000 years ago. The entire world has been uplifted by this distinct and special character we share, this unstoppable daring, this unconquerable courage. It really is. It's unconquerable. And speaking of that, where's Rory McIlroy? Can stand up, Rory. That was unconquerable courage. That was very good, Rory. I don't know if that helps them talk about how wonderful the speech, but I had to interrupt my speech because I watched that man win a tournament. That was a tough one. Congratulations.
That's amazing. Look at that. Donald Trump stopping his speech just to shout out somebody. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every day of 2026.
Congratulations. Very proud of you. All right, now I'll get back to my speech, Rory. Okay. But it was unconquerable courage, this inexhaustible supply of ambition, ingenuity, and resolve. From the trenches of World War I to the beaches of Normandy, from the frozen hills of Korea to the scorching sands of North Africa and the Middle East.
Annette Giles says, what is he talking about? Did someone write this for him?
And we're doing a little Middle East work right now, two of you might know. And we're doing very well. We have militarily defeated that particular opponent, and we're never going to let that opponent ever, Charles agrees with me, even more than I do, we're never going to let that opponent have a nuclear weapon. They know that, and they've known it right now very powerfully.
I like Matthews jumping on the chat saying Trump will go down as the greatest. That's why they try to extinguish him.
But our countries have stood together, defiant and triumphant against the forces of communism, fascism, and tyranny. Together we have expanded the reaches of human knowledge and endeavored always to make this world safer.
Jay Fernandez throwing some jokes in the chat saying MAGA seals are C-word. They get so easily pleased. That's so kind. That's cool. Seals. That's cool, man.
More prosperous, more just, and more free. Ours is a treasured friendship, an eternal bond, and a true story of extraordinary heroism and skill. A lot of skill, tremendous skill. History has known no more powerful force than the combination of American patriotism and British pride. The British Empire that began here in America certainly did not end here. The sons and daughters of the British Isles went on to found more countries and spread more civilization than any nation before. They built an English-speaking world upon which the sun never sets and provided an example to which free people will always turn, They have such love and...
Petty 4015 says Trump was put in office by the Z. Ion is
such respect. Today, most of Britain's former colonies have no idea what they truly owe to this towering legacy of law, liberty, and British custom that they were given. We were given that, and it was a great, great gift. Tonight, on the eve of our 250th year of cherished independence, we turn to the sovereign embodiment of our British heritage and say sincerely thank you to our friends, the United Kingdom, for the richest inheritance that any nation has ever given to another. May our two countries stand together forever for liberty, for justice, and for the...
We got Jay Eper, 1969, saying Iran still controls the Strait. Are you at the Strait of Hormuz right now? Do you have breaking news? Let us know. Send us some data. Send us some data because allegedly what you're saying is incorrect. I'm not saying it is, but would like to see some data, buddy. Thank you.
Glory of God. Ladies and gentlemen, I offer a toast to 250 years of American freedom, and very importantly, to a great man, His Majesty, King Charles III. Thank you very much.
Very pleasant. Big cheers. There you go. Great. Gregory Williams, 4128, says every president is put in by the Z. Thank you for your chat, buddy. We're going live every day at 2026. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, become a member, throw in a super chat.
My wife and I are most grateful to you for your generous hospitality.
Great accent. Is this guy like from the UK or something? What's going on?
As the United States celebrates this very special anniversary year of the Declaration of Independence. And may I also just start by paying tribute to your own courage and steadfastness, as well as to your security services, for their swift actions on Saturday evening in preventing further injury. My thoughts... My thoughts and sympathies are very much with you, the First Lady, and all those guests for whom this must have been a very upsetting incident. As the words of that famous anthem remind us, this is the land of the free and home of the brave.
That's right.
As your own response demonstrates. What used to be called in the last war in the United Kingdom, keep calm and carry on.
Keep calm and carry on. There you go. Magnus Kane jumping in on the chat saying the Strait of Hormuz has been closed since the beginning of this F multiple stars war. Are you a more on? Is he trying to call me? What is that word? It's closed today and oil prices are going up. Thank you for your chat, Magnus Kane. Happy to have you in the chat, buddy.
I now realize, ladies and gentlemen, to my amazement, that my first visit to this remarkable country was over 50 years ago. And, Mr. President, the golden threads of history and heritage between our lands are also embodied, as you mentioned earlier today, in your own family and your own family story, whose roots trace back to the beautiful landscapes of Britain's Outer Hebrides and continue, as we know, in the great golf courses of the Highlands. I can only imagine the immense pride with which your own dear mother, indeed both your parents, must be looking down on the great office to which you have been elected for a historic second term. And if I may say so, it is a particular pleasure to be back in this wonderful building, the heart of your democracy. On this occasion, I cannot help noticing the readjustments to the East Wing, Mr. President, following your visit to Windsor Castle last year. And I'm sorry to say that we British, of course, made our own small attempt at real estate redevelopment of the White House in 1814.
Yeah, Tara, you don't need to change your pick. Your pick is awesome.
Anyway, I'm so glad we have an important opportunity at this critical time to renew those bonds of history and friendship between our nations and our peoples. 2.5 centuries ago, the United States of America was founded through an audacious and visionary act of self-determination. From the beginning, the American character has been defined by courage, tenacity, and the spirit of adventure. As the direct descendant of King George III, I know this is a nation that never gives up. And my family's history remains reflected in your maps, which read rather like our Christmas card list across the ages. North and South Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, and the cities of Charleston, a particular favorite of mine, obviously, Georgetown, and for that matter, Georgia, Annapolis, as you mentioned, and further favorites, Prince William County and Williamsburg. This said, our French friends can feel equally at home with a glance at a map. Indeed, you recently commented, Mr. President, that if it were not for the United States, European countries would be speaking German. Dare I say that if it wasn't for us, you'd be speaking French. Of course, we both love our French cousins greatly.
EL6092 says, Africans built America, if we're being serious. Is that accurate?
And we three estates are not only bound by our shared values, but by a profound belief that together we are more than the sum of our parts. Out of the fires of a bitter and bloody Revolutionary War, the triumph of the father of this country, George Washington, and
Tomo, 1969. Who are you talking about?
His fellow founders, was to forge a democracy founded upon the rights to liberty and the rule of law. The story of Britain and America is one of reconciliation, from adversaries to the closest of allies, not always perhaps following the straightest path. As you said yourself, Mr. President, during your own state visit at Windsor Castle last year, ours is an unbreakable bond of history and heritage, culture and commerce, industry and invention, and we are determined to face the future together. Tonight, we are here to renew an indispensable alliance which has long been a cornerstone of prosperity and security for both British and American citizens. Our people have fought and fallen together in defense of the values we cherish. Across the ocean and from coast to coast, we have traded, innovated, and created together. We've stood together through the best and worst of times. However, the challenges we now face, from those who wish us harm across the world to balancing the risks and opportunities of powerful new technologies, to the threats to the very international rules that have allowed us to trade and have kept power in balance for 80 years, those challenges encourage us to reaffirm.
We got connecting rabbit holes saying Mali is being destroyed by radical Muslims right now. Is that real?
Well, certainly a tense situation in Bamako, in the capital of Mali. In the north, we have the Liberation Front of the Azawad, the Tuareg fighters that are continuing to disarm and take over key positions in the north. And earlier today, there was an attack of an ISIL affiliate in the area of Menaka. This shows you how fragmented and how many armed groups are involved in Mali right now. But all eyes and ears are around Bamako. the statement made by this Al-Qaeda commander, Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal-Muslimin, speaking not in Tamashek, the Tuareg language, or Arabic, but in...
We got to claim that Africans built the atomic bomb from Estefas. Is that right? Is that right? Do you have any data to prove that? Thank you for jumping in on the chat. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every day of 2026. Become a member. Throw in a super chat. I love you. The Lord loves you.
Bambara, which is a language spoken in southern Mali and in Bamako, addressing the population directly, warning them that not only are they going to hold a siege, but there will be further attacks in Kati, which is the garrison town just on the outskirts of the capital, but also in Bamako, where there are Russian mercenaries from the Africa Corps that are located. Many in Bamako do not want to see Al-Qaeda fighters take over the capital. We are seeing the president of transition, Assimi Goïta, holding office, meeting with the Russian ambassadors. There was no statement made, but this image of him standing side by side with the Russian ambassador is an image that speaks louder than words, that really explains the reliance.
In the air, look at that, my goodness. We got the freedom effect. 5131 saying Iranians praising Trump, but Democrats could care less. My goodness.
On these Russian mercenaries for the Malian regime to hold. But with this latest statement from the Al-Qaeda commander, well, there's a showdown expected in Bamako.
From Al Jazeera. There you go.
Tonight, the base.
Trying to bring the breaking news to y'all every single time. Thank you for that recommendation there. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every day of 2026. Become a member. Throw in a super chat.
Basis on which our partnership has been built. And yes, we have had our moments of difficulty, even in more recent history. When my mother visited in 1957, not the least of her tasks was to help put the special back into our relationship after a crisis in the Middle East. Nearly 70 years on, it is hard to imagine anything like that happening today. But it is not hard to see how important the relationship remains in matters both seen and unseen. My mother's first Prime Minister, Sir Winston Churchill, understood this so well. But then he himself was half American, a tradition of shared transatlantic heritage, which I am pleased to say is alive and well in the White House today. Indeed, such was the closeness that Sir Winston, while staying here in the White House, in those rooms you showed us upstairs, emerged naked from the bathtub to discover the door opening as President Roosevelt came in for a chat. With rapier wit, the President cast aside any embarrassment by declaring that the Prime Minister has nothing to conceal from the President of the United States. This warmth came after testing times between our leaders in the early 1940s. The kinship and friendship of many centuries provided great reassurance to my late grandfather, King George VI, as it did to my late mother. It means every bit as much to me. Of course, my late mother met no fewer than 13 serving presidents, thankfully all of them fully clothed. The first president I had the honor of meeting at the age of 10 in 1959 when he came to Balmoral was President Eisenhower, who had served as Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Forces during World War II at a most critical time in the darkest days of the 20th century. American leadership helped rebuild a shattered continent, playing a decisive role as a defender of freedom in Europe. We and I shall never forget that, not least as freedom is again under attack following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Today, our partnerships in NATO and AUKUS deepen our technological and military cooperation and ensure that together we can meet the challenges of an increasingly complex and contested world. And speaking of submarine alliances, there was one particular AUKUS predecessor launched from a UK shipyard in 1944 that served for the majority of her life attached to the 4th Submarine Squadron in Australia, playing a critical role during the war in the Pacific. Her name? HMS Trump. So tonight, Mr. President, I am delighted to present to you, as a personal gift,
a bell.
The original bell which hung on the conning tower of your valiant namesake. May it stand as a testimony to our nation's shared history and shining future. And should you ever need to get hold of us, or just give us a ring. For 250 years, the ingenuity and imagination of the people of the United States have been an inspiration to the world. This land of opportunity has nourished some of humanity's greatest minds, from the industrial age to the space age. So many miracles of the modern world have been and still are invented in America. Indeed, we have followed the voyage of Artemis II, or Artemis II, as my family and I might like to call her, with close attention. Now, I know you have big plans for the moon, Mr. President, but I've actually checked the papers, and I rather suspect it is already part of the Commonwealth, I'm afraid. Ladies and gentlemen, on this week's visit, I look forward to meeting the people and communities of this dynamic country, including celebrating some of the work of my King's Trust, which it has been doing in these communities, helping give young people a chance to succeed across America in this year when we mark 50 years of the Trust. Can you believe it? Every year, millions of Britons journey to this remarkable country to experience its glorious national parks, soaring mountains and ancient forests. From the peaks of the Pacific Northwest to the rugged shores of the Atlantic, from the vast expanses of the West to the sweeping prairies and canyons, the natural beauty of this land is found in every corner. And in sport, in just a few weeks, the United States and Canada will be among those to welcome the world as hosts of the FIFA World Cup. So in one sense, Mr. President, as heads of state, we are joint hosts. We call this game, by the way, football, Mr. President. And I can only say, as the head of state of 5 competing countries, I will be watching the matches closely with great enthusiasm. After all, we always like favourable odds. So this city, Washington, D.C., is the home of more Shakespeare folios than anywhere in the world. 82 copies are carefully preserved and shared at the Folger Library. And at this time, when the search for peace in the world is more critical than ever, I can only turn to Shakespeare's genius to remind us of the plea for peace spoken by the Duke of Burgundy at the conclusion of Henry V. My speech entreats that I may know why gentle peace should not bless us with her former qualities. Thank you.
We got something about bells from user Double T saying the narrative surrounding the disappearance of historic bells, often attributed to the rise of modern sound therapy and associated with theories of a lost civilization, sometimes referred as Tartaria, suggests a deliberate global removal of massive acoustically complex bells that were present in the 19th century and earlier. These theories argue that these bells were not merely for timekeeping, but functioned as healing frequencies or free energy devices designed to resonate with nature and the human body. Very, very cool. Very cool. Do you guys believe in that? Do you guys believe in sound therapy? Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every day at 2026. Become a member. Throw in a super chat.
Thank you, Mr. President and Mrs. Trump. for your splendid dinner this evening, which...
Tara Matthews asks, are you excited, Leet, for the World Cup? Yes. So excited for the World Cup. Are you guys excited for the World Cup?
May I say, is a very considerable improvement on the Boston Tea Party. So, whether your cup contains tea, wine, Scotch whiskey, bourbon, or even cola, let us raise our glasses and voices as we toast the past, the present, and the future, thank you, of our two proud and allied nations. To the United States and the United Kingdom, God bless both our countries.
You're here.
Thank you very much. Thank you. As you great job. That's so beautiful.
Very classy. Very cool. Very, very cool. Hezbollah. FPV drone. Alright, so this is a analog drone, as we can tell, with the camera footage. What's happening here? Oh man. Those things are so fast, they're loud, but you don't get to hear them until like 300 feet away, maybe. But who knows if he's wearing like ear protection? That just creeped up right behind him, man. Oh man. Oh man. Tara, wonder about this one. This is about for the women in the chat. Would you know if your husband decided to purchase a new car but keep the same color?
The customer does not want to be filmed because his wife thinks it's the same car.
Did his wife find out the truth at the end?
Behind me, you see two GT3s. One's a GT3 RS and one's a GT3. He's gonna go home today with this car and she's not supposed to know he's buying a new car. I said, can we be on camera? And he said, no, because my wife doesn't know I'm buying a car. I'm like, so...
What do you think, Chad? Is his wife gonna figure it out or not gonna figure it out? Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're going live every single day of 2026.
They're just gonna show up to the house with a new car and she's not gonna know? And he's like, yeah, it's the same damn car. But obviously we all know it's not the same car. This is a GT3 and this is a GT3 RS, but the wife is gonna have no idea. I'm like, how is your wife not gonna find out? Do you live with your wife? And yeah.
Alec Matthews says women don't notice anything about cars. Tara Matthews is to say, if she's smart, yes.
That's why he bought the exact same spec.
I think she's gonna know.
She's not gonna find out.
She's
never gonna know. No. Comment below if you guys think she's gonna find out.
You never know. You never know. So Ryan Garcia got in a fight with one of Armin Sarukian's buddies, but it was just kind of like more of a, not a fight, but a dare, like something for the stream. And some people are always wondering, like, is this actual real or is this fake, like what these streamers are doing, you know? So I thought this was a real clip. I thought 100% was real, but the exchange, half of the exchange was real. The other half was not real. Let's see which part is real.
By the way, what happened with Ryan Garcia? You had your friend with you, and he said, hey, punch him in the stomach for $40,000. Is this the punch? Let me see it real quick. Let me see it real quick, Rob.
No, neither.
It's gonna be right here.
Yeah. He knows the point that he can't hit.
He knows.
All right.
Come on.
Come on. I don't think I could do.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd rather spar.
So just so you know, this guy Ryan Garcia, he's a boxer, and they're not fighting; they're just like sparring, right?
I'd rather spar.
Let's spar.
Now he wants to spar
Yeah,
because
you take it, brother. I'm gonna rather spar him.
Yeah, you take
I'd
it,
rather
brother.
let a man try to hit me.
Wait,
No,
you
it is
took
more,
the
it is
cash, then his guy comes, takes him from you, and you never got the
No,
money
and
back.
then I said, no, it's not fair. They punch him 2 times again. So he punched it 3 times, he couldn't drop him, and I took the money, and his accountant or whatever came and said, bro, here's more than 40,000. Let me go upstairs, like count money, and then come back. I said, okay. He came back without money. I said, where's the money? No, bro, we wire you. We need this money for tonight. We do something. I said, Brian, no. I need now my money. He said, bro, I swear to God, like a man word, I'm gonna wire you tomorrow.
A man's
1 week,
word.
nothing. To be honest, I don't care about 40K. Just.
So you
and
never
then,
got
no,
the money?
No. And then I called him and said, bro, like, what's going on? Why you didn't say money? Bro, he said, bro, it was a stream, so.
My impression is the president.
He's like, oh, it's a stream. I don't need to pay you, right? It's a stream. What's going on? What do you think? This is an interesting one for the liberals. You know, I love the liberals. I love the Republicans. I love everybody. And it's a little interesting what the liberals are thinking about in Iran. Let's see what Tucker can teach us.
Don't really believe that if you kill the Ayatollah, the whole country collapses.
The reason why it didn't is that it's not actually a theocracy. It's a military dictatorship.
Oh, it's actually one of the most liberal countries in the entire region.
You know what? It is.
Did y'all know that it was one of the most liberal countries in the whole region? Talking about Iran over here.
I think you and I are the only ones who haven't been.
People know that.
So many.
Alec Matthews says liberals care about whatever the TV tells them. Yeah.
My friends have been to Iran relatively recently, before the hostilities began. They posted videos on YouTube of just walking down the street in Tehran, and the restaurants are open, and the cafes, and there's music, and people laughing. It's just normal life.
I remember my father working in Iran and telling me, Tehran, yeah, there's tons of liberals. One of the most amazing pictures I think I've ever seen was a picture of a very butch-looking lesbian-type woman with a nose ring in Tehran, waving a photograph of the Ayatollah after.
Got that nose ring. Got that nose ring. What does that nose ring mean? I think y'all know what that nose ring means.
He was killed. This is exactly the person who opposed him. Now that we've killed him, the lesbians of Tehran are all of a sudden for the Ayatollah.
So weird. It's just absolutely so weird, right? I guess is Restream bot not working? What's going on? That's so wild. That's so wild. Okay. I think we're gonna have to get that Restream bot up and going. But here's Jimmy Kimmel, and a concerned mother asked, like, how do I extinguish someone who's picking on my son? And Jimmy Carr goes straight for it and sometimes goes around it. So we'll see what he does here, man. Alec Matthews, absolutely, bro. Thank you for having your thoughts in the chat, man. Very cool, very cool. There you go. Hopefully your cat is fed. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, going live every single day of 2026. Throw in some super chats, become a member.
Excellent question. How old is your son? 11. That's a tough age to be, I would say. I would say that, I don't know, speaking as a parent, right? I feel bad that your son's being bullied, but you cannot helicopter parent. You can't pave the jungle.
True.
You can just teach him to get through it. And I think, yeah, it's a very tough thing. I think on the upside, your kid is being bullied. Yeah, that's terrible. I imagine heartbreaking for you. It's a hard thing to watch your boy go through, but at least he's not the fucking bully.
There you go. 100%.
You know, if you think about, schools now, the schools proudly proclaim. Chris Rock made this point, like, if there's no bullies in the school, they're only doing half the fucking job.
Connecting rabbit holes. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you, Alec Matthews. Thank you all. Thank you all. Yeah, we're trying to develop a good community over here, so make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, become a member, throw in some super chats, meet some new friends.
I hope they're all right. What's going on? What are they teasing him about? It's not moves, is it?
Hey, Saleh Helk. How you doing, buddy?
His disabled brother? Well, they should be bullying the disabled brother. He's fucking crazy. These bullies are fucking idiots. Tell them from me.
So he just switches it. He switches it from like they're bullying her son, and he's gonna tell his. Oh my! He's telling her that the bullies are idiots. They should be, you know, heckling and bullying the disabled kid. But obviously, he's making a joke. Like, you know, bullying is not good at all. You guys should not bully.
I'm relieved you said that. I thought you were going to say man boobs, and I was going to apologize. I was going to apologize to your boy. Well, he must know that they're fucking idiots, right? Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Fuck it. It'll be, like, look, tell him from me, I don't know whether he's a fan of mine or whether he watches any of my stuff, but tell him from me, I said, you can't have an easy life and a great character. Can't have both. And
there you go. Can't have an easy life and great character. You know, having a tough life develops great character. 100% accurate. And Annette Giles, I love your voice. Thank you. You're so sweet. You got good ears, girl. Yeah, Alec Matthews. This guy is Jimmy Carr. JIMMYCARR. One of the funniest comics from across the pond in the UK.
It'll make him stronger and better and more compassionate in the future. That's good. It'll give him empathy. There's gifts to all of these things. There's always a silver lining to this stuff, but I hope you're all right as well. It's fucking tough, I would imagine. I'm going to bully him less.
Then he acts like, I'm going to bully him less.
I'm not going to fully stop, but less.
Oh, that's funny, man. Jimmy Carr always bringing it. Always a funny guy. So make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. I did not know Restream bot is not working. For some reason, the Restream bot is not working. So make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications because we're going to have to restart this. I love you. The Lord.